New January 6 footage shows the other side of Nancy Pelosi's daughter's camera. We see here recently released after Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene coordinated the release to two very competent journalists. One of them is named John Solomon. He published this over at Just the News. And you can see this still. This is Alexandra Pelosi. And we knew that there was a video recording from January 6th. We all watched it. We'll take a look at it again today. But we thought that this was an impromptu recording. We thought that this was something that just was spontaneous. Oh my gosh, we're under attack. Let's take a look and record what's happening for future posterity. That's not really exactly what happened. I mean, she had a camcorder in her hand. This is January 6, 2021. We all have cell phones and most of them record in 4K. So that's something that you would have if this was impromptu. This is a camcorder and her daughter is filming her this entire way. So it's part of a documentary, evidently. And this is now the other side of the footage that we get to see. And it certainly doesn't look like they're panicked at all. Doesn't look like they're under assault from a raging mob. Everybody's just kind of waltzing out of the room. We're going to get into it more. Here's the background on the story over from Just the News. And there were two people who I very much respect. John Solomon is one of them, and Julie Kelly is another, both excellent journalists and investigators. And they both got access to additional footage. They're combing through it right now in detail, and we can expect to see a lot of drops over the forthcoming months. Now, they published this. This is one of the first drops. It says, J6 unmasked. Security footage shows Pelosi evacuating Hollywood style from the Capitol as the daughter films. We're going to go through the footage in a bit more detail. But here, Pelosi described having to evacuate, right? These were her words, as traumatic, okay? These people are dramatic. They've told us this was an attack and AOC has PTSD and everybody is just totally destroyed as a result of what the Trumpers did. But Capitol Police security footage obtained by Just the News shows the longtime Democrat leader exited Hollywood style from the House of Congress that fateful day as her daughter was filming her, as security officers tried to guide her through a secret safe passage corridor, right? So they're kind of interfering with the security. The footage made available by Just the News provides three different angles of Pelosi's evacuation the afternoon of January 6th. Each one of the angles shows Alexandra, Pelosi's daughter, roving around her mother's delegation with a camera, and not just a cell phone camera, a camcorder. I'm surprised they didn't have a CNN crew there as they moved briskly through the corridors, led by members of the Capitol Police Protective Detail. The video shows then Speaker Pelosi was not in jeopardy, clearly, after fleeing the breached Capitol chamber because the footage shows no protesters or rioters penetrated the evacuation route. Capitol Police confirmed to Congress the woman holding the camera was in fact Alexandra. Now we are going to hear from Stephen Sund, the former Capitol Hill chief of police, and how he viewed this ordeal. But let's take a look at the previously released footage. So now that we know that she had a camcorder and this whole thing was being filmed and basically set up for a documentary, we have to go back to what they were recording and view it in context. This is what they released as part of the January 6th Select Committee. This horrendous, definitely not scripted, definitely not overinflated, exaggerated recount. This is what she's recording, backing up. We have to finish the proceedings or else they're going to have a complete victory. The country's on the line. All right, so this is all the splicing. Remember that the J6 committee was basically a propaganda piece. They brought in some Hollywood producer to splice this all together. So then they say Senator Schumer's here.
A secure location, and they're locked down in the Senate.
They're locked down here in a secure location.
There has to be some way we can maintain the sense that people have.
Yeah.
That there's some security or some confidence.
We're going to come back to this. Stephen Sund has a lot of questions for Nancy Pelosi. Remember, she was Speaker of the House at the time, and we've got concerns about why security was requested and why security was denied. And she's going to be sitting here telling us, well, how can we say the government functions? One of the ways you could have done that was to prevent all of this from happening and from stopping people like Stephen Sund from fortifying the building, knowing that there were going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people there in Washington that day.
That government can function and that we can elect the President of the United States. Did we go back into session?
We did go back into session.
Alexandra's is here filming.
Everybody on the floor is putting on tear gas masks to prepare
Zoom in.
for a breach.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get more information.
They're putting on their
Tear gas.
Tear gas? Oh, gosh. Can you believe this? You believe this? We're under attack.
We need an area force.
We're under attack, she says. Right, so they fast forward. They're going to give us a lot more of the theatrics because they like jump cuts in these footage. So they're showing us what's going on in other timelines, in other parts. I don't even know where they are, but they're trying to show you that, I guess, are these people right here, right outside their door or something? Like, are they pounding on the door? Are they look pretty comfortable to me. I mean, personally, Nancy's just kind of chilling here. They got their masks on, which is a good approach. Well, she's got hers up below her chin, which is illegal back then.
Secretary of DOD. We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard?
Okay, this is called chewing the scenery, right? This is when in Hollywood, when you have actors who are overacting and they're getting around, they're getting in front of the camera, they're talking to the acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller. It's just, very dramatic, very theatrical. And Pelosi, put your mask on.
To come to.
I have something to say, Mr. Secretary. Well, I'm going to call the mayor of Washington, D.C.
Okay, you don't have to yell.
Now and see what other outreach
Everybody can hear you.
Police departments
people who put their phones on speakers. They put their phones on speakers and they start screaming, the phone's right there. You don't have to change your volume. Okay, the microphone didn't get quieter or something. It's right there.
Hi, Governor. This is Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Governor, I don't know if you have been approached about the Virginia National Guard. Mr. Hoyer was speaking to Governor Hogan, but I still think you probably need the okay of the federal government in order to come into another jurisdiction.
The okay of the federal government? Do you mean like when Donald Trump suggested bringing the National Guard in and Mayor Muriel Bowser and your Sergeant at Arms and others declined any federal support? You mean like that? We have the letter from Mayor Muriel Bowser that she sent on January 5th that says the same.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. They're just breaking
They're breaking windows. Wow, they're doing all
It's really that they said somebody was shot. It's just.
Yeah, the Capitol Police shot Ashley Babbitt. Yeah.
It's just horrendous, and all at the instigation.
Here you go. And who's responsible for it?
Of the United States.
Donald Trump. You got to make sure you get that line in. If you're going to have, a scripted insurrection, you got to make sure you appropriately blame the person responsible.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate what you're doing, and if you don't mind, I'd like to stay in touch. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Virginia Guard has been called in.
Virginia Guard,
You're
yeah,
not just
great.
talking to Governor Northam. And what he said is they sent 200 state police and a unit of the National Guard.
Wow.
They're breaking windows and going in, obviously ransacking our offices and all the rest of that. That's nothing. The concern we have about personal safety is just transcends everything, but the fact
personal safety transcends everything, and Nancy still doesn't have her mask on. Schumer doesn't want to be near her, as you can see. I think his mask got a little bit tighter. In fact, it's so tight, it's pulling on the upper right earlobe, as you can see. It's not the lobe, it's actually the top part of the ear. He's like, all right, I need to tense this up. I don't know what is going on. It might be an odor problem or something.
The fact is, on any given day, they're breaking the law in many different ways. And quite frankly, much of it at the instigation of
there it is again. There's the line again.
States. And now
Trump did this. Just so we're clear. We all agree, right? You all agree with me? Trump did this. Did Trump do this? Yep, Trump did it. Yep. Okay, Trump did it. Did you get it on camera? No, I didn't get it. Say it again. All right, hold on. Let me get on the phone again.
Yeah, why don't you get the president to tell them to leave the Capitol, Mr. Attorney General, in your law enforcement responsibility. A public statement, they should all leave.
All right, so they're chewing the scenery. We get some other, right, they flash forward. Now we get Mitch McConnell's back here. He's got his mask on too.
Not be just we're waiting for so-and-so. We need them there now, whoever you got.
You also have troops. This is Steny Hoyer. Troops.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time to make that decision.
Andrews Air Force Base.
All right.
Other military bases.
Thank you.
We
Thanks,
need
Paul.
active duty National Guard.
How soon in the future can you have the place evacuated, pulled, cleaned out?
I don't want to speak for the leadership that's going to be responsible for executing the operation, so I'm not going to say that because they're on the ground and they're the
Pretty amazing. This is our leadership. Everybody just stands around,
or the White House or some other entity that was under siege.
Here, Nancy Pelosi is explaining it like she's 5. Okay, let me help you think through this. What happened if your building was under attack? Okay, what would you do for that? Now, it's not your building, it's our building. This is our government.
And let me say, you can logistically get people there as you make the plan.
All right, so you can see it's just a big drama fest. Now, here's another phone call when she's talking to Mike Pence.
Mitch about it earlier. He's not in the room right now, but he was with us earlier and said, we want to expedite this, and hopefully they could confine it to just one complaint, Arizona.
And hello.
Vote, and that would be, then just move forward with the rest of the state. The overriding wish is to do it at the Capitol. What we are being told very directly is going to take days for the Capitol to be okay again. We've gotten
Going to take days? That's a pretty bad report. They were back there that night and counted the votes.
Very bad report about the condition of the House floor with defecation and all that kind of thing,
yeah.
As well. I don't think that's hard to clean up, but I do think it is.
No, you guys are used to that. You have Jerry Nadler. He's been waddling around Congress with a leaky diaper for 20 years.
More from a security standpoint of making sure that everybody is out of the building, and how long will that take? I just got off with the Vice President.
And I got off with the Vice President-elect. So I'll tell you.
Okay. But what we left the
I talked to Pence.
with,
I talked to Kamala. All right, so you get the deal, right? It's just a big wine fest, and they're all on camera. It's like a drama club, right? It's a bunch of people with very little capability to do much of anything, pretending like this is all Trump's fault and it's all under attack, even though, as we know, they declined support many, many times over. So that was the other side of Alexandra's footage. Now, this is the other side where they are actually in the Capitol. And it's interesting how much of this has been redacted, right? We can't even see the walls. They have blurred out the walls. They've blurred out the top of this hallway. They've blurred out this left wall. But we can see that all of that horror, all of that, we're under attack type of feeling, this is what it looked like as they were actually exiting. So a couple people walking through, looks like down underground, secret hallways, secret tunnels, probably why they don't want us to show anything. There is Nancy, and there is the daughter. There's Alexandra right there with the handheld camcorder, filming her the whole way. Like, the whole thing was like great footage, like wow. And then they turn a corner. She's filming her from behind. She says, "Hold on, everybody, hold on." Now here, I think we can see some people trying to escort Nancy out, right? Like, this is a security person, it looks like, who's trying to get her out of the building safely. These are, Secret Service or Capitol Police or law enforcement who are just trying to get her out safely. And so Alexandra is kind of, interfering with this process, it looks like, as they're walking around. So we get a different angle. Now they're walking through the doors. Okay, the Speaker of the House is coming through. They're all just kind of moseying about, not a ton of urgency anywhere. And there she is, front and center, watching mom, just filming the whole thing. This is going to be great. Can't wait to make a documentary about this. And they had a camcorder. It's not your cell phone. This isn't a spontaneous, just grab whatever you have, because this wasn't expected. And then we get another angle as they continue to walk through the halls. Here it is again. And here comes Alexandra. Boom. Just filming mom. Look at this. It's hysterical. It's like, wow, this is going to be great footage. It's like Blair Witch Project. It's a little bit bumpy, but it's real, mom. It's authentic. You look great. You look very heroic. And they were walking around the Capitol. This was the urgent moment, right? Now, the media, they took that one clip that they fakely edited from Josh Hawley, and they played that for us many times over on repeat, right in the face. Oh, look at Josh Hawley running around. Oh. And Josh Hawley was running because he was scared. He said it wasn't a big deal, but there he is just running through the congressional Capitol. Well, they didn't show us this one. They didn't show us this one of Nancy Pelosi just waltzing out with her daughter filming her. Oh gosh, I can't wait to give this to CNN. Horrified from this very monstrous attack. Yeah, there was another clip where there was a conversation with Nancy Pelosi where she said, "I've been waiting for this. I knew something like this was going to happen." But it turns out this was all part of a documentary, evidently. Reddit got their hands on this some time ago, posted 6 months ago. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi in the documentary is going to be directed by her daughter and put on HBO. Not only were they filming it, but they were actually filming this for a documentary, and you can see exactly what it looks like. Here's the camera. Director Alexandra Pelosi was following her mother when she was escorted out of Congress. CNN broke the footage was on the other side. saw Nancy Pelosi threaten to punch out former Trump as a result of his actions. It's now emerged that the documentary was making will launch on HBO. It's called Pelosi in the House, I guess. Maybe it's already launched. I don't know. But what a joke it is. All of the horror. The media didn't play this clip over and over and over again for us. They played the ones that they wanted to show us. And as Nancy Pelosi literally walked out as her daughter is vlogging her. Start a YouTube channel so we can downvote it. Anyways, this is the Capitol Hill Chief of Police, Stephen Sund. And he was on with John Solomon, whose agency now has the very important job of combing through all of this footage. And his reaction, he was former Capitol Police chief. He was there on January 6th. He was involved in a lot of the post investigation. And here's what he said about that footage.
People say, well, why don't the officers that are under protective deal say turn off the camera? The answer is they can't, right? They have to follow the orders of the speaker, unlike other police people who might have been able to say, turn off those cameras. You're a safety risk. Tell us what you've seen in that video footage and what concerns you, what went right, what went wrong in that footage.
Well, when you look at the footage, what you need to realize is a protective detail is specifically for the protectee. You're there, you're protecting the protectee. Now, Capitol Police statutorily do have the authority to protect family members. And it's my understanding the person holding the camera was Pelosi's daughter, but they're there in the position of being media. The protective detail isn't there to protect media. Whoever else was there with her for the sole purpose of videotaping creates a major distraction for the protective detail. They don't train to protect those additional people. There's a limited number of seats in the armored vehicles that, if you're going to put one of those additional people into the armored personnel carrier or the armored vehicle, you're going to lose one of your security detail. And that's not what's meant to happen. So it creates a distraction. It slows down the process. You can see as she's walking through the hallway, she's more concerned on videotaping. I want to say she, I think it's Alexandra Pelosi.
Yeah, she's not
is
worried
more concerned on videotaping as opposed to rapidly getting out of the Capitol for her and her mother's safety.
Exactly right. Yeah, none of them were scared. None of them were freaked out. None of them thought they were under attack in any way, shape, or form. It's all on footage. Everything that they told us was for effect, to exaggerate the story, because that's what they do. They need to use this as an ordeal to get rid of their political opponents. Here we have an excerpt from Stephen Sund's book called Courage Under Fire, Under Siege and Outnumbered on January 6th. And if you read it, he does call January 6th an insurrection. He says that there were absolutely people in there, in the crowd, who wanted to interfere with the government and stop the counting of the votes and all of those things. And I think that is true. I think that there was a natural, organic component to that did want to stop the count and get in there and protest. And I do think that there was also another contingent that was hell-bent on causing absolute violence and madness to turn this into what it is today. All of that said, Stephen Sund writes the following in his book. He says, but now that January 6th is behind us, he says, many questions remain. 1, why didn't a single one of the intelligence agencies accurately report the intelligence that they possessed? Good question. Not a single one. Why didn't the Department of Defense share its concerns over violence? Why didn't they share it while simultaneously taking such extraordinary actions to prevent military support from assisting me during the attack? Why did the DOD hide evidence on concerns of violence? And why, when Stephen Sund requested information and support, why did the military decline? I don't know. Maybe Mark Milley had something to do with it. The same guy who called Nancy Pelosi afterwards talked about the 25th Amendment. Sund asks, why didn't the sergeants at arms, the people in charge of the House and the Senate of their security, why didn't congressional leadership, and why did the sergeant, the military, and leadership all seem to obsess, his words, about optics above everything else? Why? Why did they want optics? Why was that such a big, important deal? Why, after I had taken steps to secure the Capitol in advance of and on January 6th, was I removed so quickly? Stephen Sund secures the Capitol. He takes steps to try to secure it before January 6th, and they remove him. He wants to know why. Why, says Stephen, are congressional inquiries so studiously not focusing on what really went wrong? Well, we know. And finally, what would the death toll have been if I had not pre-positioned Metro PD by the Capitol and been so quick to call in all the other law enforcement support? Maybe they wanted this to be much, much worse. but this dude stopped it from happening. As tragic as the death toll already was, I could still wake up in cold sweats thinking about how much worse it could have been. He says, America needs to know the answers to these questions. What I faced as the chief of police at Capitol Hill, stuck in the middle of a terrible attack that played out in front of the whole world, he says, is only one part of the puzzle. While on the surface, this battle looked like an ugly mob of violent protesters pitted against police officers, January 6th was something much bigger and representative of greater issues in America. It looked like an ugly mob of violent protesters pitted against the police, but it was much bigger. And we all know that. It was, in fact, much bigger. And what they tell us it was is not true at all. And there are thousands of people who are being prosecuted and abused by our government on the back of this, not for justice, but only for the furtherance of their political narratives, and it's disgusting. So shout out to everybody who's working on this, including John Solomon, Stephen Sund, Julie Kelly, all the amazing people bringing the truth to light. Of course, we will continue to cover this.